Welcome back, viewers, wherever you may be viewing from. Welcome back to part one of Women Voters Matter, where we give the candidates a rare opportunity to share with you their plans surrounding women's issues and talk about the pressing issues that affect women and gender relations and gender issues in Trinidad and Tobago. My name is Jewel Green, and I am co-moderating this part of Women Voters Matters with the head of SUDOR Committee of Trinidad and Tobago, Ms. Terry Ince.
Hi, Jewel.
Hi, and we have with us this morning, our next guest is Mr. Leroy George, and he's the independent candidate for Tobago West. Welcome, Mr. George.
Good day.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, Mr. George, and welcome.
Good morning.
And so I will jump right in. We are very pleased that you accepted our invitation to join us. And as an independent candidate, is this your first time in politics?
As an independent candidate, this would be my first time in politics. However, I was involved in politics over the last 6 years, being in relation to different political parties. And what I realized is that there is a paralyzing effect that political parties have on individuals within the collective that would be highly inappropriate going into this, the 100th year of democracy, as is exercised through general elections. 1925 is when we would have had our first ever general elections. We're now in 2025. And as a result, I have chosen to run as an independent candidate so I could exercise the full extent of freedom of speech, expression, all that stuff. And it is extremely important because right now, as it pertains to women, we are seeing a situation whereby a lot of the positive things that have changed over the years, where women are concerned, where women's rights are concerned, where women's perception in leadership positions are concerned, is possibly being reversed. I remember hearing a Facebook Live by one Miss Ava McCall very recently, whereby she is supporting a particular party, and she said one of the reasons she's supporting it is because the two persons that they're putting forward to represent Tobago East and Tobago West are both males, and that because of her religious beliefs, etc., she feels as though men are the ones that are supposed to be representing and not necessarily women. And I could understand that there is some disappointment being felt by the people here in Tobago over the lack of representation that we've been getting from both the Tobago East MP and the Tobago West MP at present. And I understand that they're both women, but causation is not correlation. I fully understand that. And these women, however, should have understood that besides representing the people of Tobago in general, they represent women in particular. And so they needed to put their best foot forward, and they didn't do that. So what I intend to do is to be the change that I want to see in my society. And one of the changes I want to see is our representatives who are men not exercising what they call toxic masculinity, whereby they don't subscribe to emotional intelligence, they don't subscribe to just, feeling and nurturing and all those things that many of our girls have been nurtured into so that they make better representatives. And so I would want to pick from both the things that are positive that we teach our girls as they grow into women, and the things that are positive that we teach our men or our boys as they grow into men. For example, we teach our boys that they need to be uncompromising in their strength and convictions. I'm going to be like that. But we also teach our women that they need to pay attention, nurture, pay attention to the specific needs of each individual. And I'm going to be like that. And I'm going to make sure that when persons see me, they say that is not a stereotypical male representative, but a human representative that is approaching life from such a perspective. We are going into an era whereby access to goods and services, it may just become limited. We've seen tariffs, we've seen trade wars, etc. And one thing that I'm very concerned about is that as access to goods and services become reduced, women being pushed aside. And that is why I would be looking at a sort of affirmative action to ensure that in the workplace, especially on the upper echelon of our socioeconomic structure, women are always represented, even if it means that we have to look at affirmative action, etc. And once we do that, we know that we're not going to have a reversal of all the positive changes that we've made. We heard in Islam, there's a teaching that if you want to know the status of a society, look at how the women are held. And if we understand the real socio-economic implications of empowering our women, then we are going to do what we're supposed to do. And that is exactly what I intend to do as the next representative of Tobago West in waiting, Mr. Leroy George, who you need to go out there and vote for on April the 28th of this year.
Well, thank you, Mr. George. You've done quite you've given us everything I think we would expect of a candidate and a potential leader. You've touched on a number of things. You've touched on affirmative action or quotas. So it sounds as if you are in favor of quotas to ensure that women and men are equally represented in society. In political offices, I should say, and also in decision-making spaces. You've touched on security, on personal approaches to dealing with society. So you tapping into one's emotions and being a good thing as opposed to a negative thing. You touched on toxic masculinity, which we have heard about. We know that unfortunately, it is quite pervasive, not only in our society in Trinidad and Tobago, but in our region and also globally. And it's something that needs to be unlearned because it is learned behavior. So you've touched on that, and that's very, very positive. So before we close off this segment of engaging with you, I want to ask you to tell us, what is your perception of gender equality? What does gender equality mean to you?
Gender equality means to me that in every sector of society, I am expecting to see a ratio of women to men that is equivalent and appropriate once you consider the ratio of the population. So generally speaking, it's about 50% women, 50% men. I've heard a lot of ridiculous statistics out there, but if you look at the actual CSO numbers, it's generally about 50% women to 50% men. So I want to see the CEOs being 50% women. From the time I'm not seeing the CEOs being 50% women, I have a problem with that. I want to see our political representatives, our prime ministers, being 50% women. I want to see everybody on every level being 50% women as much as possible. From the time I'm not seeing that, I say, listen, this is why I support the full democracy, right? Or direct democracy. Direct democracy is where you go back to the people. I remember when I was a bit younger, a lady, a very enlightened lady from Germany, she said, Leroy, you're a very smart person, but you're not a very empathetic person. And I said to myself, I need to look at myself where that is concerned. And since then, I've been working on becoming as empathetic as possible. And I realized the only way to really tune into the hearts and the minds of the population is to go directly to the population. So as a member of parliament who is going to subscribe to direct democracy, on every single matter, I am going to go to the people, hold polls on a regular basis, whether it be through phone calls, whether it be through polling booths, whether it be online, etc., to find out what the people are thinking before I make a decision. And because roughly 50% of the people out there are women, I know I'm going to be tuned in, I'm going to be empathetic with the thoughts and everything, the desires of our women and our men alike.
Just one quick follow-up as before we close. When you're elected, what's the very first thing you would do as an elected official to ensure we're on the path to gender equality?
The first thing that
as an elected official, yes.
I am going to go straight back to my support base, because right now, when I, on social media, you have dashboard where you could see exactly who are the people that are supporting you, following you, etc. About 60% of my followers on social media, all the measurables that I could see, are women. When it comes to the actual people on the ground that have been assisting me in my campaign, it's way more than 60%. We're looking at about 80, 90%. And so as a result, I'm going to go to them and ask them, not for them to want me to tell them what I should do, but because I don't want to tell people what to think. I want to think about what people are telling me. And when they tell me what they think, that is when I'm going to make my decision. So in short, I'm going to take an inventory of the desires and the needs of the women around me.
Thank you so much. Continued success. All the best on the 28th.
Thank you so much.
Back to you, Jewel.
Thank you so much, Terry. And again, thank you, Mr. George, for being here with us on Women Voters Matter. This is the independent candidate for Tobago West. We're going on a quick break, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be viewing from. Don't go far. We are going to be back here chatting with Mr. Gerard Balfour from the IDA, and he's going to be joining us virtually. We want to hear what he has to say. Go and get your neighbor, get your friends. Tell them, listen, tune in to Tobago Updates. They're talking about some very important matters to women and the things that are affecting women. The candidates are here to share their plans and their views with us. So don't go far. We'll be back in a few minutes chatting with Mr. Gerard Balfour.